Battle through the firmament. Great world. Chapter 436. His opponent Nan Tian. Uncle Ling, have you seen Zhou Tianlang? A strong old man was sitting on a huge rock next to a tall rock wall. A light breeze blew past him and a middle-aged man with slightly white hair appeared behind the old man. When he saw the old man, he quickly asked, "I've seen him before." The old man did not turn his head. When he heard this, a hint of sadness flashed across his eyes as if he was talking to himself. The middle-aged man's name was Lu Chang. After listening to the old man's words, taking a deep breath, his expression was ugly as he said, "I know you can't do it. But I met 2 clones of Zhou Tianlang on the way here. From their memories, I learned that these 2 clones were chasing after the students of Star Sky Academy and Yunlo Academy, the students of these 2 academies. It seems like they were forced to enter the forbidden area." What? The old man could no longer maintain his calm upon hearing this. He hurriedly turned around to look at Lu Chang. His eyes flickered with a soul-stirring light. Oh no, with their strength, entering the forbidden area is simply courting death. That bastard, I should have long predicted it. The old man who was called Uncle Ling was called Ling Gu. His face was gloomy. Earlier, he had killed one of the clones that was hunting down the disciples of Glaze Academy. When he continued to sense Zhou Tianlang's aura, he didn't sense any fluctuations of his aura. Originally, he thought that Zhou Tianlang would stop at this point. He didn't expect that after forcing these students into the forbidden area, he didn't use the origin key in his body anymore. If these clones were to move, I would be able to sense their position. Who would have thought? Ling Gu descended from the huge rock and threw out a punch with an ugly expression on his face. It directly shattered this huge rock that was the size of a small hill. What should we do now? What if those students encounter misfortune? Even though the 2 of them had experienced countless of things, they were still burning with anxiety at this moment. What else can we do? Go and tell Elder Jiang that I will break into those forbidden areas to take a look. At this time, all the energy in the forbidden areas will weaken. Maybe we can enter the innermost area. As he spoke, Ling Gu leapt into the air and activated the Heavenly God Eye, instantly seeing through the entire mountain range. The Heavenly God Eye was known as one of the 5 great God Eyes, and it could see through everything. Naturally, its effects were extraordinary. Okay, Lu Chang gritted his teeth. He knew the danger of the forbidden area. However, from the looks of it, this was the only thing he could do. As he spoke, he wanted to leave. Wait a moment. Just as Lu Chang was about to use his movement technique to leave, Ling Gu suddenly shouted. The former was stunned for a moment, then his figure flashed and appeared beside Ling Gu. Strange. Why? Ling Gu's eyes were swimming like a bottomless ocean. At a glance, it was enough to cause one's heart to sink. At this moment, there was a strange expression of surprise on the former's face. All the students are safe and sound. Through the layers of dense forest and layers of space, Ling Gu instantly saw that all of them were working together to kill the heavenly beast or avoiding the large number of spirit beasts. They were moving towards the second arena in different directions of this mountain range. Strange. After telling Lu Chang what he saw, the latter also had a blank expression. Could it be that no one had entered the forbidden area? Otherwise, how could they walk out unscathed? Since there's nothing wrong, I'll be at ease. I'll go and tell Elder Jiang. You pay attention to Zhou Tianlang. The bright light in Ling Gu's eyes dissipated. He glanced at Lu Chang and said with a slightly desolate expression, "Don't worry." Lu Chang nodded his head. He knew that Ling Gu wouldn't kill Zhou Tianlang. After letting out a soft sigh, Ling Gu's body trembled. He turned into a ray of light and disappeared from where he was standing. He rushed towards the top of the mountain, like a shooting star streaking across the sky, instantly disappearing without a trace. Old ancestor, Ling Gu has left. In a mysterious place, Zhou Tianlang suddenly took a deep breath. A frightening green light immediately burst out from his eyes. He lowered his body and looked at the black fog not far away. He spoke in an excited tone. All right, don't attack anymore. I already have a better plan. After waiting for a while, a deep voice sounded out from the black fog. As soon as this voice appeared, it sounded like the roar of thousands of ghosts. It was shrill and shrill, as if it contained endless vengeful spirits that were cursing everything. The space trembled, as if it was going to shatter at any moment. It's that fellow who entered the forbidden area. Zhou Tianlang was shocked when he heard this. A white light flashed on his body and he turned into a human figure. He looked at the black fog and asked doubtfully, "That's right, you have caused too much commotion when you went out, and that fellow can be used by me." A cold voice could be heard from the black mist, as if there was a hint of a smile on it. It was as if the sinister laughter of countless evil spirits could be heard in the entire space, causing one's scalp to go numb. If that's the case, I shall congratulate the ancestor here. Zhou Tianlang was overjoyed when he heard this. He hurriedly knelt down on the ground. He spoke in a sincere tone. Ha ha. All of a sudden, the black fog that filled the air began to surge violently, enveloping the entire sky. One after another, wails and howls were continuously emitted from within. Old thing, once this sovereign leaves this place, I will definitely massacre the entire star field and trample the heavens. As soon as the voice was heard, a cold intent enveloped the boundless space. It was like the furious roar of a devil god in the netherworld, causing Zhou Tianlang's body to tremble. However, his green eyes were filled with an even more bloodthirsty look. At the top of the mountain, Ling Gu's face was haggard. He told Old Man Chang everything about Zhou Tianlang. The old man nodded slightly when he heard this. His originally calm face was now filled with a trace of melancholy. "I'm really sorry. It's all my fault that I didn't kill that beast." Seeing this, Ling Gu said in a low voice and gritted his teeth. "No, this competition isn't like playing house. Zhou Tianlang's appearance is indeed expected. However, there's nothing they can say even if some students die because of this. The competition is filled with danger." Old Man Chang shook his head and said, "I don't know what's going on either, but I have a bad feeling." Ling Gu pursed his lips and stopped talking. His eyes swept across the people at the top of the mountain. He saw a young man with a calm expression not far away. He then looked away and shook his head. He had a lot on his mind. Obviously, Zhou Tianlang's incident had disturbed his mind. After coming out of the forbidden area safely, Xiaoyan and the others didn't encounter any danger. Although they didn't know where they were now, after 2 days of rushing, they finally arrived at the second hill. Under the lead of a giant eagle heavenly beast, they quickly arrived at the arena. Teams of students were already waiting there. Southern Sky Academy. Xiaoyan immediately recognized Zhou Buyi and Zhou Exingyu when he saw the few people waiting. Mahuyang. The 4 men from the Southern Sky Academy also looked at Xiaoyan and the others. Zhou Buyi was the first to walk out. His eyes were brimming with qi. His eyes were like a torch as he looked at Mahuyang who had fallen to the ground. "Have you entered the forbidden area before?" Mahuyang's expression was indifferent. He looked at Zhou Buyi and suddenly spoke. It wasn't just Zhou Buyi. Behind him, Zhou Exingyu, Lei Yunting and Luo Zhen's expressions also changed. The former looked at Mahuyang in shock and slowly nodded. "You have also gone in." "Indeed." Xiaoyan laughed bitterly. He really guessed correctly. The students of the 4 great academies should have been chased by that mysterious white-haired middle-aged man. "Then, how did you get out?" Without waiting for Zhou Buyi to speak, Zhou Exingyu suddenly spoke. She blinked her big eyes and looked at Wu Shaoqi curiously. "None of your business." Seeing Zhou Exingyu looking at her, Wu Shaoqi said snappily. Zhou Buyi and Mahuyang did not speak. This kind of thing should be a secret to every academy. There was no need to let others know. "Cut the crap. Which one of you will come out and accept the challenge?" While everyone was silent, Lin Dao strode out. His body trembled and he appeared on the arena, breaking the strange silence of the few people. Seeing Lin Dao fight, Xiaoyan hesitated for a moment, but didn't say anything. Previously, Mu Yang had discussed with him that if he encountered the Southern Sky Academy, he wouldn't be in a hurry to use the battle command. Big Brother Joe. Luo Zhen's eyes flashed, and he was about to speak. There's no hurry. It won't be too late to wait until we face the Star Sky Academy, Zhou Buyi said in a soft voice. He glanced at Lei Yunting, who was standing beside him, but the latter turned a deaf ear to his words. Zhou Buyi sighed in his heart, but he didn't say anything. Initially, he thought that Lei Yunting would deal with Lin Dao, but the latter wanted to suppress the Xiao clan, and had long regarded Xiaoyan as his opponent. As for Lin Dao, he could only let Luo Zhen fight him. Fortunately, the latter's strength wasn't bad, and he didn't dare to look down on him because of the mnemonic skill he cultivated. Luo Zhen nodded his head, and with a flash, he appeared in front of the three of them. With a leap, he stood in front of the arena. Southern Sky Academy. Luo Zhen, please enlighten me. Chapter N. Battle Through the Firmament. Great World. Chapter 437. A Battle of the Strong and the Strong. Just like the rules of the first stage, when Lin Dao and Luo Zhen stood on the stage, Xiaoyan, Zhou Buyi, and the others from the Southern Sky Academy were chased away by the two heavenly beasts that acted as referees. Everyone left tactfully and didn't have any conflicts with each other. Xiaoyan, you must not die. The next time we meet, it will definitely be a battle between you and me. Just as Xiaoyan and the other two left, a cold voice suddenly sounded from afar. Xiaoyan narrowed his eyes. He didn't need to guess to know who the owner of this voice was. Other than Lei Yunting, there was no one else. I'll wait. Xiaoyan turned around and looked coldly at Lei Yunting. He then turned his eyes to Zhou Exingyu, who was looking at him with interest. Xiaoyan frowned slightly. With his outstanding senses, he felt that Zhou Exingyu seemed to be a little different. Humph. Zhou Buyi's face suddenly turned cold. When he saw Xiaoyan staring at Zhou Exingyu, he let out a cold snort and turned his body to block Xiaoyan's eyes. He then left with Zhou Exingyu. Hey, you are really perverted when I say you are a pervert. Why are you looking at that bastard so lecherously? Wu Shaoqi, who was at the side, also paid attention. When she saw Xiaoyan's gaze, she immediately said discontentedly. Xiaoyan smiled helplessly when he heard this. He didn't explain anything and nodded at Mu Yang. After that, he turned around and left. Wu Shaoqi frowned slightly. She turned around and glanced at Lin Dao, then quickly followed after him. There are still 2 more arenas. No matter what, we might be able to fight the Star Sky Academy. At that time, the battle command will be the best opportunity. After a pause, Mu Yang's eyes sparkled. He looked at Xiaoyan and said, my idea is to find another battle command. This way, we will have sufficient preparation for the remaining 2 matches. How about it? Senior Mu is right. Xiaoyan nodded and agreed with Mu Yang's words. The following 2 matches were even more heart-wrenching than the previous 2 matches. With the battle command, there would be an extra chance. He naturally wouldn't object. Then I will have to trouble you. Wu Shaoqi and I will be in charge of guarding. You can use your soul energy to search without worry. Mu Yang smiled and said in a low voice. Soul power was his only weakness. In this way, he could only rely on Xiaoyan to find the battle command. All right. Xiaoyan nodded silently. He did not say anything else. After entering the dense forest, his soul power was instantly released from between his eyebrows. It wrapped around this small area and began to search carefully. Lin Dao and Luo Zhen stood opposite each other in the arena that was paved with limestone. A gentle breeze swept over and lifted up a wisp of dust that blocked their sight. Boom! The instant the dust was lifted up, Lin Dao suddenly stomped on the ground. The huge force directly shattered the platform. Like a cannonball, in the blink of an eye, he arrived beside Luo Zhen and punched out aggressively. In an instant, the world seemed to have changed color. The sound of explosions lingered in the air. It was like an air cannon, directly smashing towards Luo Zhen's chest. Luo Zhen frowned, but his steps were not disordered at all. With a sudden movement of his feet, he seemed to have taken a strange step, dodging Lin Dao's punch perfectly. This movement technique was called Crystal Void Swimming Step, and it was as if he was traveling through the void. His speed was extremely fast. When Lin Dao saw this, the air under his feet suddenly exploded. In the next moment, he displayed a speed that was a little faster than Luo Zhen's. The latter only saw a shadow flash in front of him, and Lin Dao had already appeared behind him. His 5 fingers formed a blade, and he slashed fiercely at Luo Zhen's neck. 10,000 Spirit Hidden Technique. At this critical moment, Luo Zhen did not hold back at all. The origin key within his body roared like a dragon, and it rushed out of his body. In an instant, it transformed into a crystal-like inner hidden technique that wrapped around his entire body. Lin Dao's hand blade struck the crystal-like inner hidden art, but it only caused the inner hidden art to shake slightly. It didn't even cause any damage to Luo Zhen. Whoosh! Borrowing this strength, Luo Zhen leapt forwards, and like a phantom, he continuously shook the arena. He raised his arm, and all of the origin kiss on his body seemed to gather in his hand, causing a wild wind to howl. His massive momentum caused the ground he was standing on to crack open. Purgatory Great Palm Seal. Luo Zhen's arm suddenly landed and a huge origin key palm, which was dozens of feet in size, was suddenly formed. It whistled down from the sky like it was splitting the heavens and the earth. Wherever it passed, golden key filled the air, and cracking sounds could be heard in the air. The 5 fingers were like a cage as they rushed towards Lin Dao. The origin key wailed, as if it had been forcefully torn apart by the giant hand. The powerful key wreaked havoc, causing the ground where Lin Dao stood to sink. It formed the shape of 5 fingers. Swoosh! Lin Dao's eyes were cold. He stood in the same spot without moving. The key of the giant palm had locked onto him. Even if he tried to dodge it, it would be useless. When the giant palm fell into the air, Lin Dao's eyes suddenly became sharp. He moved both of his arms and a long spear with a vast key appeared in his hand. Buzz! Spiritual light surged out from the long spear, and it seemed to have transformed into a dragon. Lin Dao soared into the sky. He held the Imperial Dragon Point blue spear in his hand, and it pierced through the blue sky. He then rushed towards the huge golden palm. The dragon roared furiously, and pierced through the huge palm with an unparalleled key. It turned into golden origin kiss and disappeared into the sky. Imperial Dragon Point blue spear. I have long heard of it. Today, I have seen it. It is indeed extraordinary. Luo Zhen's eyes were like a torch. The destruction of the golden palm had shaken his heart. He stared at the long spear in Lin Dao's hand and said in a cold voice. Swoosh! Lin Dao didn't say a word. The long spear was pointed at Luo Zhen. The tip of the spear was emitting a spiritual light that almost shattered the space. Looking at Luo Zhen in the distance, Lin Dao said with an expressionless face, "Take out your full strength. If this is your true strength, I have no interest in fighting you." Oh, Luo Zhen raised his eyebrows when he heard that. Then, he threw his head back and laughed. After a while, he stopped and looked at Lin Dao with a cold expression. "All right, I'll show you my true strength." A spiritual glow appeared in his hand as he spoke. A strange 9-section whip appeared in the latter's hand. The 9-section whip had an ancient appearance, but it contained a majestic atmosphere. It gently tapped on the arena, causing several cracks to appear on the ground. "This time around, let me do it." Luo Zhen laughed coldly. His head of white hair was gently lifted. Great sky fierce slash. Following a soft shout, the Luo Zhens around Luo Zhen shot up into the sky with a majestic aura. The ground under his feet shattered with a loud bang. Numerous cracks spread out from under his feet, and rushed towards the place where Lin Dao was standing. At the same time, the origin kiss that filled the sky rolled over. Under the control of the 9-joint whip, they quickly condensed, as if they were going to form an unparalleled killing move. Sensing the majestic key within, Lin Dao's indifferent expression changed slightly. He looked at the few cracks that were rushing towards him from the ground and could not help but snort. The Imperial Dragon point blue spears violently stabbed into the ground. The dragon's roar shook and cancelled out the key. After that, he pulled out his spear and soared into the sky. Monic arts. Lin Dao's face was as cold as ice. He mumbled to himself. The Imperial Dragon point blue spear flew out of his hand and circled around him like a furious dragon. Every time it circled around him, his aura would become stronger. Boom! A golden light shot into the sky, seemingly tearing the sky apart. A figure rushed out like a shooting star from within the golden light. It carried a great might as it raised the strength of the heavens and the earth and attacked Lin Dao. Reverse Blade Dragon Scale Light. Lin Dao softly chanted. He suddenly stretched out his palm and grabbed the rapidly revolving Imperial Dragon point blue spear in his hand. The key underneath his feet exploded, as if his body had turned into an azure dragon as he went against the flow. Layers of dragon scales appeared on the body of the spear as it roared and charged towards Luo Zhen's golden light. Rumble. The key that caused the two heavenly beasts to be shocked spread out in an instant, and it let out an explosive sound that shook the sky. Xiaoyan, what are you thinking about? Xiaoao looked at the slowly burning all-embracing nether flame in front of him. After a while, he asked doubtfully. He could sense that Xiaoyan had been staring at the flame for a long time. Xiaoyan was silent. He pondered for a moment before he slowly said, Xiaoao, you said earlier that the all-embracing nether flame was formed by the combination of the fire of underworld and turbid yin qi. Do you think that I can obtain a trace of the fire of underworld from it? Xiaoyan's eyes sparkled. He asked in his heart, and his tone was somewhat excited. The underworld fire was ranked 6th on the Monic flame. If he could obtain it, he was afraid that with his current strength, he would be able to fight a Monic cultivation warrior. Is that your plan? Xiaoao was stunned when it heard this. Then, it was also overjoyed. Just as it was about to speak, its expression suddenly became depressed. I know that your Monic flame has the ability to devour. Back then, you used this method to devour a trace of the fire source of the 3000 lightning Monic flames and obtained the 3000 lightning Monic flames. But, I'm afraid that it will be very difficult for you to obtain the fire source of the underworld fire in the all-embracing nether flame. Firstly, the underworld fire and the turbid yin qi have already merged. If you want to separate the two, ordinary origin kiss will be useless. At the very least, you will need to borrow the array formation. Quote, Chapter N. Battle Through the Firmament. Great World. Chapter 438. Black Clear Air. Formation. Upon hearing this, Xiaoyan couldn't help but be stunned. His mind began to spin rapidly as he thought of all sorts of things related to formations. In order to cultivate formations, one must be at least a Monic cultivation warrior. As for the powerful formation jade slips that were passed down in the world, they were getting fewer and fewer. The Yunlo Academy had spent a large sum of money to purchase all the formations that the Inner Academy students and the students of the realm in Valley were given to cultivate from some ancient sects. As for the transportation array between each prefecture, it was one of the lower grade formations. Hence, most cities were able to set it up. When one mastered the formation, it could be said that one could do anything. According to some ancient books, there was a supreme expert in the ancient era who could easily form a killing formation. It was enough to destroy everything and destroy the heaven and earth. The encompassing karmic fire is a famous flame in the ancient era. It seems like several 100,000 years before the soul demon started wreaking havoc, the controller of the encompassing karmic fire was a supreme expert named Senluo Sacred Lord. At that time, the Dark Asura Hall he established had a place in the entire great world. Xiaoao smacked its lips and continued. Later on, when Senluo Sacred Lord went to the land beyond the heavens, no one knew what happened and met with misfortune. The Senluo karmic fire lost control, and a wisp of flame descended. However, it had disappeared without a trace. This wisp of flame fused with the turbid yin qi in outer space and formed an all-embracing nether flame. If you want to separate the karmic fire of the underworld, With your current strength, don't even think about it. If you can break through to the monic cultivation and borrow the help of the formation, there is a slight possibility that you will be able to do so. Xiaoao spoke in a vague manner. It combined the scattered fragments of its memory and described them in detail as much as possible. Xiaoyan nodded his head and did not say anything else. He gently opened his eyes and withdrew his mind from his body. Mu Yuyang was adjusting his breathing by the side. Wu Shaoqi was standing not far away, keeping an eye on her surroundings. The afternoon sun was extremely hot. Through the layers of tree branches, Xiaoyan narrowed his eyes and looked at the sky. The sun was very glaring. Star execution, Xiaoyan muttered softly. With a thought, a light star flashed in his palm. A thick and heavy ancient book appeared in his hand. It was as if it was formed from thousands of stars. On the cover, there were purple stars circulating, almost making people lose themselves in it. During his free time during these past few days, Xiaoyan had been constantly studying the arts of synchronization that the Domain Lord had given him. Although it was only a part of the star technique, the content was incomparably vast. It was like a sea of stars. After a few days, Xiaoyan had finally looked through it one by one. The star technique was divided into 3 parts. The name was Huanzhu Star, Xing Luo, and Xing Luo Heaven. The combination of the 3 techniques was a supreme technique that could surpass a saint technique. Although he was not clear about the power of the saint technique, it did not hinder Xiaoyan's estimation of the star technique. The heavenly monic fire-burning body was merely a holy arts, and the power contained within it was. Even though he had already reached the monic emperor, he still couldn't fully exert it. As for the saint technique, he had no idea how powerful it was. As for the supreme technique that surpassed the saint technique, he thought for a moment. It made him feel like he was in a trance. Sighing lightly, Xiaoyan waved his hand and the ancient book in his hand turned into specks of starlight and dissipated. That old man was willing to pass down the supreme technique that only the previous generations of region lords could grasp to him. This also meant that the strength of the 9th disciple of the soul demon, Yav Mu, was too great. With his own strength, it would be hard to say whether he could stop him. In that case, since Yav Mu has been suppressed, his strength will surely suffer a great loss. Even if he still had a powerful strength, he would never show himself openly. In that case, there is only one possibility. Xiaoyan's eyes were filled with confusion as his mind spun rapidly. It is very likely that the 4 great academies have entered the forbidden area before. Yav Mu is definitely hiding in one of the students' bodies. When he thought of this, Xiaoyan suddenly clenched his fists. If that was really the case, who knew how many students would die without knowing the background of the other party? I hope that Luo Zhen isn't. Xiaoyan frowned and could not help but feel exhausted. He leaned against the giant tree and rubbed the spot between his eyebrows that was slightly painful. He could not help but bare his teeth. After searching for so long, there was still no trace of the battle command, which made him extremely depressed. Almost at the same time when Lin Dao and Luo Zhen were fighting, on the other side of the mountain peak, 2 people were confronting each other. They were Shi Kanghai from the Star Sky Academy and a beautiful long-haired woman from the Glaze Academy. The woman was wearing a tight suit, and her slender body was perfectly revealed. Her eyebrows were like a painting, and she looked very charming. The girl's name was Chen Lu. As the little angel of the Glaze Academy, her strength was only slightly weaker than Xuan Qingyi's. Below the arena, Shang Xiaoshan took a deep look at Shi Kanghai. Initially, he wanted to send Wu Qian to fight, but he didn't expect that the opponent would use the battle command to send Shi Kanghai to fight. Under the surveillance of the 2 heavenly beasts, the Star Sky Academy didn't act. Sister, I'm the weakest in the Star Sky Academy, not bad. However, it depends on who the other party is. I think I can still win against you. Shi Kanghai crossed his arms across his chest and looked at the slender Chen Lu in front of him. A hint of astonishment flashed across his eyes as he chuckled. You sure have a big mouth. When Chen Lu heard this, Her red lips moved slightly. She glanced at Shi Kanghai with her beautiful eyes, and a trace of seriousness emerged on her pretty face. This time, Lu Li didn't hesitate to use the battle command to exhaust one of the Star Sky Academy's students. Therefore, she must win this match. Let's go. Kang Feng silently looked at Chen Lu. Then, he turned around and left, as if he had no interest in this match. Shang Xiaoshan and Wu Qian both gave Shi Kanghai a word of encouragement before following Kang Feng. On the other side, Xuan Qingyi had a calm expression. On the other side, Yuan Xian and Kiara also revealed a relaxed smile. In their point of view, with Chen Lu's true strength, it wouldn't be a problem for her to defeat Shi Kanghai. After both of them left, the two heavenly beasts lazily gave the order to begin. As soon as they finished speaking, Chen Lu flew past like a green meteor. Her delicate hand opened slightly, and her 5 fingers turned into a huge hand that covered the sky. With a loud bang, she pressed down on Shi Kanghai. Then, the huge hand shot out. The entire arena seemed to be unable to withstand the tremendous pressure. Cracks started to appear all of a sudden. In an instant, the ground sank into the ground. The strong wind howled, and the power was shocking. Shi Kanghai's expression changed slightly. He did not expect this seemingly weak girl to have such strength. Immediately, he did not dare to be neglectful. Lightning flashed under his feet, and his body moved like lightning, dodging the giant hand in the blink of an eye. Chen Lu's expression did not change. This move was called Green Sky Glazed Hand. It was one of the 5 most powerful techniques in Glaze Academy, and all of them had reached the level of a high-grade Monic Arts. Although she could not reach the level of a high-grade Monic Arts, she had already surpassed an ordinary low-grade Monic Arts, which was also her most powerful technique. Swoosh! The green hand that covered the sky suddenly stopped, and its 5 fingers were like jade pillars that supported the sky. They were crystal clear, like glass. The green light on it roared, and an aura that could cut through space spread out. As Chen Lu's mind moved, her 5 fingers suddenly opened. The surrounding air immediately emitted a cracking sound, and numerous spatial cracks spread in all directions. In an instant, she had caught up to Shi Kanghai's figure. Crazy woman. Shi Kanghai's face was filled with fear. He had never thought that Chen Lu would unleash her strongest attack from the very beginning, not giving him any time to prepare. Seeing countless spatial cracks rushing towards him, a bloodthirsty anger flashed across Shi Kanghai's eyes. His body stopped abruptly, and his face turned pale all of a sudden. The lightning-like origin key around his body whizzed towards him, wrapping him in layers. In an instant, a purple-colored Leihu roared out from behind him. The purple-colored lightning all over his body shook and destroyed numerous spatial crack lines. It rushed towards the gigantic hand that covered the sky. Within Leihu's body, a faint black key suddenly appeared. Humph! Chen Lu's face turned cold when she saw Leihu approaching her. Her red lips were slightly raised, revealing a mocking smile. This guy was too arrogant to not use his full strength. You have lost. The green origin key wings on Chen Lu's back flapped gently. Then, it soared into the sky and entered the giant hand that covered the sky. Then, it transformed into a skill, and increased the power of the giant hand. Buzz! Colorful colors surged crazily on the 5 huge fingers, as if they were deadly. Facing Leihu, who had shattered the space and was approaching him, they directly grabbed him. Crack! The 5 giant fingers grabbed Leihu. No matter how Leihu roared, he couldn't shake the giant finger. Countless colorful lights destroyed the purple thunderbolts. Leihu roared furiously, but his body was getting smaller and smaller. Wu! Shi Kanghai's face was extremely gloomy. Leihu was connected to his mind, but now, Leihu was out of his control. If Leihu was killed, he would be severely injured. Humph! Sweat was dripping down Chen Lu's smooth forehead, but her eyes were filled with excitement. She shouted and was about to defeat Leihu. Swoosh! All of a sudden, a black key burst out from Leihu's body. It was like the scythe of the god of death that had cut through the space. In a split second, It pierced through Chen Lu's chest with a cold key. Ah! Chen Lu looked at her chest in disbelief. There was an almost invisible bloody hole there. All the strength in her body seemed to be flowing out of this bloody hole at a rapid pace. Chen Lu's eyes were filled with a deathly gray color. Her body trembled and she directly fell to the ground. The hand that covered the sky also scattered at this moment. It turned into dots of green light that scattered down as if it was wailing for Chen Lu. What's going on? All of this happened too quickly. Shi Kanghai, who was prepared to be injured, found it hard to believe. He looked at Chen Lu, who was lying on the ground and had lost her life. A trace of pity flashed across his eyes. Strange. A huge turtle-shaped heavenly beast muttered to itself in surprise. In that instant, not even they could see it clearly. Forget it, students of the Star Sky Academy. Follow me to the top. Shaking his huge head, the giant turtle heavenly beast said with a heavy voice. In the depths of the dense forest far away, Kang Feng, who was resting with his legs crossed, suddenly opened his eyes. He looked in the direction of the second arena and remained silent. Big brother Kang, what's wrong? Nothing, Kang Feng said indifferently. He looked at his palm and saw a black key rotating in his palm. Then, he clenched his fist tightly and stopped talking. Chapter End. Battle Through the Firmament. Great World. Chapter 439. Challenge. In the quiet forest, as serene as ever, the seemingly peaceful woods concealed an unimaginable crisis. Damn brat! A thunderous roar suddenly sounded. In a dense part of the forest, a white figure sped along at high velocity, dodging incoming wind blades without suffering the slightest injury. The young man in white held a long sword. Like a dragon leaping into the abyss, sword light shot out in all directions, gathering into one piercing strike aimed at a huge tiger-shaped heavenly beast. Below, a young man in a black robe wielded a massive ruler, his figure swift as lightning. Streams of scarlet golden lightning surged over the surface of the ruler. With tremendous force, he smashed it toward the chest of the tiger-shaped heavenly beast, causing the surrounding ancient trees to explode. On the other side, a lady with a pretty face, dressed in black tight clothing, wore a grave expression. Green flames curled around her delicate hand. With a light flick of her 10 fingers, numerous green arrows pierced through space, instantly appearing beside the tiger-shaped heavenly beast. A green flame suddenly ignited on the tip of each arrow, piercing through the beast's tough hide. The three were Mahuyang, Xiaoyan, and Wu Shaoqi. One day earlier, Xiaoyan had finally sensed the existence of the battle command. When the three of them found this place, they indeed saw a white striped tiger guarding it. The white spirit-tattooed tiger was one of the descendants of the white tiger. Although the white tiger bloodline in its body was extremely thin, its ferocity was undiminished. It had fought with the three of them for several rounds without a decisive outcome. Boom! The three attacks struck the huge body of the white tiger almost simultaneously, causing it to cry out in pain. Even as a peak of Monarch Emperor, it was unable to withstand their combined assault. All right, I'll give this to you all. The fur on its body was seriously damaged. Heart aching, the tiger retrieved an iron box the size of a palm from under itself, tossed it to Mahuyang, and hurried away. After catching the battle command the white tiger threw, they glanced at the departing figure. None had any intention of pursuit. Forcing a peak of Monarch Emperor heavenly beast into a corner, even with the three of them united, they would likely be severely injured. Now we have 2 battle commands. The remaining 2 are just enough for the arena matches. After handing the battle commands to Wu Shaoqi, Mahuyang let out a soft sigh. As soon as he stopped, he felt a wave of weakness from within. He hurriedly took out the jade bottle Xiaoyan had given him and drank a few mouthfuls of the extreme will heavenly spring. Only then did he feel slightly better. Wu Shaoqi wiped the perspiration from her forehead, her eyes filled with excitement. Let me fight in the next match. With the battle command, no matter which academy the opponent is from, I can eliminate one of them. Xiaoyan put away the blue flame ruler and exchanged a glance with Mahuyang. Both nodded. There were still 2 rings left, and no one knew the outcome of the battle between Zhu Tianhou and Lin Dao. Given Xiaoyan's cautious nature, he and Ma Huyang had already prepared for the worst. Therefore, the 3 of them could not afford to make any mistakes. The youngsters this year all seemed to have quite the temper. On the mountaintop, Old Man Chang suddenly spoke, muttering to himself with a strange expression. Ling Gu frowned and looked at Old Man Chang. "What do you mean by that, Elder Jiang?" Sighing, Old Man Chang said nothing. Moments earlier, the guardian heavenly beast of the second arena, the Kui tortoise, had sent him a divine sense message. A student from the Glaze Academy had been killed on the spot by a student from Star Sky Academy. Though he understood the competition's cruelty better than anyone, he was still disappointed to learn that a female student had died. Someone is coming. Just as he sighed inwardly, a commotion broke out in the crowd. A young student landed on the mountaintop. It was Shi Kanghai. "Ha ha ha. Good, good, good." Xing Chanyu burst into laughter upon seeing Shi Kanghai. He said, "Good," 3 times in a row. The weakest of the 5, Shi Kanghai, had reached the summit. Kang Feng, Shang Shaoshan, and Wu Tiandu were also fine. It seemed all 5 spots for Star Sky Academy had been secured. Unlike Xing Chanyu's joy, Su Jiang, Yi Xuan, and Tang Hong wore solemn expressions. Shi Kanghai's arrival meant one of their students had been eliminated, a situation none wished to see. Whoosh! At that moment, a stream of light rushed up from below. It halted at the mountaintop as a dragon's roar echoed in everyone's ears. The next instant, a young man in tattered clothes landed. Behind him, a long spear exuding majestic aura was strapped to his back. He resembled an unsheathed sharp sword, his presence awe-inspiring. Lin Dao. Su Jiang felt relieved seeing the newcomer. He glanced at Zhu Tianluo, who was recuperating nearby. The latter had been carried to the peak by a heavenly beast, arriving weak and nearly fainting. Su Jiang had used several extremely precious medicine pills to stabilize his ki, a high price, but he was satisfied with the victory. Seeing Lin Dao safe and sound made Su Jiang even happier. This was a far better outcome compared to previous years. Tang Hong and Yi Xuan's faces darkened at the sight of Lin Dao. They pursed their lips and remained silent. Thus far, not a single student from Southern Sky Academy or Glaze Academy had arrived, making them extremely anxious. Yunlo Academy. Is it going to rise up? Whispers spread through the distant crowd. Seeing that Yunlo Academy and Star Sky Academy, traditionally the weakest, each had 2 disciples at the summit, they were naturally surprised. This is only the first 2 matches. With proper arrangements, the chances of winning are still high. Although Yunlo Academy and Star Sky Academy each have 2, the gap is still evident upon closer look. True, Kang Feng from Star Sky Academy, Shang Shaoshan, and the other geniuses are all very strong. As for Yunlo Academy, aside from Lin Dao, only Ma Huyang remains. I doubt he'll last long. Nan Tian and Lu Li might still catch up. There's hope they can suppress Yunlo Academy. Hard to say. If any team has the battle command, there will be many variables. As everyone whispered, in an inconspicuous corner, Zhou Yuan and Zhu Mo sat quietly. The former's gaze followed Lin Dao as he walked. After a long while, he finally pursed his lips and muttered, "This fellow is very strong. If he hadn't used monic arts in our fight, I don't think we could have beaten him." Zhu Mo, standing beside him, smiled subtly. The killing intent constantly leaking from Lin Dao's body made him marvel. If such a person gained any fortune in the future, his potential would be immense. Several days passed in the blink of an eye. By the time the 3 of them stepped into the 3rd arena, over a month had already gone by. "Come on, who's our opponent this time?" Wu Shaoqi rubbed her fists together impatiently, looking toward the other side of the arena. You guessed it. Ma Huyang narrowed his eyes and instantly recognized the 3 figures. He looked at Xiaoyan and smiled. It really is Star Sky Academy. Xiaoyan smiled faintly. Seeing the enemy line up, a solemn expression crossed his face. The weakest opponent, Shi Kanghai, was absent. Whether eliminated or victorious, his absence was highly disadvantageous. Wu Shaoqi had clearly realized this too. Not seeing Shi Kanghai, she paused, her hand halting as she was about to take out the battle command. What do we do now? Who should challenge? Wu Shaoqi turned sideways and asked softly. She truly didn't know the strength of Shang Xiaoshan, Wu Tiandu, and Kang Feng. Star Sky Academy's Wu Tiandu challenges Yunlo Academy's Wu Shaoqi. Before Xiaoyan could respond, a man in green clothes floated onto the stage. He held a palm-sized token and announced loudly, Chapter N. Battle Through the Firmament. Great World. Chapter 440. Wu Shaoqi vs Wu Tiandu. Battle Command. Xiaoyan frowned slightly when he saw the token in Wu Tiandu's hand. Immediately, he felt relieved. With the opponent's strength, finding a battle command would be extremely easy. What should we do now? Wu Shaoqi blinked her eyes and looked at Xiaoyan and Ma Huyang. They had yet to take out their battle command, but the opponent had already used one. We also have battle commands. What should we do in this situation? After hesitating for a moment, he ignored Wu Tiandu on the arena. Ma Huyang took a step forward and took out a battle command, handing it to a barbaric bull heavenly beast to the side. A black barbaric bull with a huge horn looked at the battle command in Ma Huyang's hand, slightly startled. This was the first time it had seen such a situation. After hesitating for a moment, the black barbaric bull looked at the golden lion with a golden mane. The lion shook its messy fur and said in a buzzing voice, Since Star Sky Academy has taken out the battle command first, we will naturally comply with their request. Hearing this, Ma Huyang nodded without a word. He looked at Wu Shaoqi and said in a low voice, Wu Tiandu's strength is relatively weak among the three of them. Even if we use the battle command, we would still choose him. Wu Shaoqi responded softly and smiled at the two of them, her voice pleasant to the ear. When the time comes, I will wait for you at the top of the mountain. As soon as she finished speaking, Wu Shaoqi's figure suddenly moved. In the next moment, she had already appeared on the arena. On the side of the arena, Kang Feng looked at Wu Shaoqi indifferently. Suddenly, the tip of his brows twitched. A strange paleness flashed across his eyes, and a trace of suspicion quietly crept onto his brow. The origin key within this fellow's body seemed somewhat unusual. Though he pondered it, Kang Feng's expression remained calm as water. His 5 fingers slowly extended from his sleeve. A wisp of invisible black clear key quietly flowed from his fingertip, instantly entering the ground. Even Shang Xiaoshan beside him did not notice it at all. Wu Shaoqi, haha, we really are fated. Both of us are surnamed Wu. Wu Tiandu looked at the cold-faced girl before him and smiled gently. His golden robe fluttered in the wind, making him look extremely handsome. Yeah, if you want to acknowledge me as your elder sister, I'll consider it. Perhaps I'll even acknowledge you as my younger brother. Wu Shaoqi rolled her beautiful eyes and smiled. You have a sharp tongue. Wu Tiandu did not get angry. He just sneered, shook his head, and spoke softly. Wu Tiandu, get rid of her immediately. It would be best if you could kill her now. Kang Feng suddenly spoke, his tone filled with bloodthirst. After saying this, he turned and walked into the dense forest. Shang Xiaoshan beside him glanced at the former with some surprise, shrugged his shoulders, and turned his eyes to Xiaoyan and Ma Huyang. After sizing the two up, he smiled gently and quickly left. That fellow, what is going on? Xiaoyan's expression changed. He didn't know what had happened when he looked at Kang Feng earlier, but he felt a sense of rejection in his heart. Very strong. Ma Huyang lowered his eyes slightly. They could feel that the key in Kang Feng's body was more than a little stronger than his. Wu Shaoqi, be careful. No matter what, you must stay alive first. He pondered for a moment. Ma Huyang suddenly raised his head and looked at Wu Shaoqi, his voice solemn. Clearly, he had also noticed something strange. Don't worry. Wu Shaoqi did not turn her head. A pleasant voice was heard, slightly dispelling their worries. He, don't worry. I am different from that guy. I cannot bear to hurt a beauty like you. After hearing Kang Feng's words, Wu Tiandu's brows twitched slightly. A trace of anger flashed across his eyes. He waited until both of them had left before looking at Wu Shaoqi with a smile. Is that so? Wu Shaoqi smiled sweetly, but there was incomparable solemnity in her pretty eyes. She might not be clear about Wu Tiandu's strength, but the fact that Su Jiang emphasized him was enough to show how powerful he was. Begin. Seeing the disciples of Star Sky Academy and Yunlo Academy leaving, the giant golden lion immediately spoke. Its voice was like a thunderclap, causing the air to tremble slightly. Swoosh! Before the giant lion finished speaking, Wu Shaoqi's body trembled slightly. In the next moment, Wu Tiandu felt a cold chill on his back. With a light snort, his feet moved suddenly, dodging Wu Shaoqi's whistling hand blade in an extremely ingenious manner. The green flame on the hand blade faintly lingered, even splitting the air apart. Your speed is quite fast. Looking at the disappearing shadow in the distance, Wu Tiandu focused his eyes on Wu Shaoqi, who had appeared behind him. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but lift into a smile. This level of skill was more fun. After her attack missed, Wu Shaoqi also smiled. Just as Wu Tiandu was about to speak, his heart suddenly moved. All the origin kiss around him surged out, forming a thick and solid inner hidden art in front of him. In the next moment, a ghost-like figure rushed over. Under this punch, the inner hidden art shattered layer by layer like a dried branch. Wu Tiandu's body flew backward. Wu Tiandu's body, sent flying through the air, suddenly stopped. He jumped midair and landed steadily on the ground. He glanced faintly at the corner of his clothes, shattered by the fist wind, and laughed lightly. His eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at Wu Shaoqi. I still underestimated you. You actually used 2 afterimages in such a short time. Wu Shaoqi's pretty face was solemn, and she said nothing. The opponent hadn't even made a move, and she could already feel how terrifying Wu Tiandu's strength was. If they really fought, the result would most likely be her loss. Boom! A violent storm suddenly erupted from Wu Tiandu's body. His golden robe danced in the wind. Thick origin kiss continuously formed into sharp blades around him. Martial style. With a stern shout, Wu Tiandu's body burst forth like a ghost. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Wu Shaoqi. His arms were wrapped with origin kiss. Both hands crossed, and in an instant, thousands of streams of force were unleashed from all directions, stirring the air around him. Like a mountain, his aura was vast and mighty. The force kept exploding, suddenly rushing toward Wu Shaoqi. Fire Emperor's perishing force. Wu Shaoqi did not dare to be careless and directly activated the secret arts recorded in the Fire Emperor scripture. Each secret art was a supreme technique that once shook various domains. With Wu Shaoqi's current strength, she naturally couldn't display the greatest effect, but it was still enough to deal with experts of the same level. Boom! Boom! Crimson flame origin kiss roared crazily in her meridians, like the roar of a fire god. Burning the infinite worlds, Wu Shaoqi's body suddenly burst out with an endless amount of red ki, and the temperature suddenly rose. It caused the arena under her feet to rapidly melt. As for the thousands of origin kiss bombarding her, they were quietly extinguished the moment they contacted the scarlet energy, without making a single sound. What kind of move is this? The sudden eruption of the Fire Emperor Ki caused Wu Tiandu to feel intense heat. His feet suddenly stepped on the air, and his body rushed backward. He looked at Wu Shaoqi in astonishment and sneered. He clenched his fists tightly and took a deep breath, his eyes wide open as an endless amount of battle intent surged out. Crack, crack. As the battle intent surged out, Wu Tiandu's body seemed to grow much larger, filled with strength. The wind from his fists shook, and the sound of space trembling could be heard. 8 styles of the heaven and martial arts. Great blazing palm of the heaven and martial arts. 8 styles of the heaven and martial arts. Great blazing palm of the heaven and martial arts. Wu Tiandu's cold eyes looked toward Wu Shaoqi in the distance. A palm suddenly rushed out. The origin key in the palm roared, its speed extremely fast. As it rushed out, the palm continued to grow larger, tearing apart the air along the way. In an instant, it turned into a huge hand dozens of feet large. Its 5 fingers were like pillars as it suddenly slammed down toward Wu Shaoqi. Boom! The palm directly slammed onto the arena, causing it to shake. Immediately after, it sank down with a loud bang, leaving the imprint of a palm on the arena. Whoosh! Before Wu Tiandu could relax, the arena not far from his palm exploded with a loud bang. A beautiful figure soared into the sky from the ground. Green flames slowly curled around the beautiful figure, and even the surrounding space trembled as it burned. Who? Wu Shaoqi wiped the sweat from her forehead and stared at Wu Tiandu. This guy had endless methods. If she wasn't careful, she would be seriously injured. Huo Wu Tianxing. His eyes flickered. The green flames around his body seemed to transform into a green fire dragon that wrapped around Wu Shaoqi. In the next moment, the green fire dragon streaked across space and swooped down, its power reaching its peak in an instant. Sky Marshal Shattering Finger. Wu Tiandu laughed coldly. He lifted his huge palm instantly. His 5 fingers closed, and he extended 2 fingers. All the strength in his body seemed to concentrate on these 2 fingers, as if he wanted to pierce through the blue sky as he faced the green fire dragon. A faintly discernible black clear key quietly mixed within these 2 fingers. Chapter end. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.